What's up, guys? You are watching Fight Feed, and today I'm going to be talking about the banger matchup between Diego Lopes and Jean Silva that's happening on September 13th for UFC Noche. Okay, guys, so diving into this matchup, I am honestly shocked that this matchup got made solely because it seemed as though since my Yair Rodriguez video that I made a few weeks ago, it almost seemed like the UFC was moving away from this idea of Yair getting one of the most undeserved title shots in UFC history. But now it seems as though because Yair's not fighting Diego Lopes, I know Yair said he was injured, so perhaps that's playing a role here. And it does seem like Volk, based on the interview he did with Ariel Helwani, it doesn't seem like Volk is very clear himself on what steps are going to be happening next in the featherweight division. It does seem like Volk is still kind of not in the know in terms of who that next guy is. But because this matchup between Lopes and Silva was made, it has a lot of us thinking that the UFC is going to move forward with booking a fight against Yair, which is absolute bullshit. Anyways, diving into this matchup, I think it's an absolutely banger fight because you got two guys who simply go out there to damage, hurt, finish their opponents. And that is what you're going to get in this matchup. You're going to get one guy, I think, getting overpowered and ultimately probably end up just getting finished outright. Now, my initial thoughts in terms of who I believe can win this fight, I think that either guy can win, okay? You have Jean Silva, who is not only a crispy striker on the feet. I think that from things I've seen, he can leave himself open on the feet in terms of boxing exchanges. Like, he's not always full high guard covering his face. He can get caught. Now, he also has a very wide array of attacks. He does like to throw, flying knees at times. He has some spinning elbows. He has his standard elbows. He has the overhand. He has the hook. He has a great straight. So he's got a fundamentally sound game that is mixed with a whole tool bag that he can pull from to land on Diego. Diego, on the other hand, I think he's a bit more traditional in his striking in that he is not a guy who is throwing these crazy techniques. He's more of a guy who's just textbook fundamentals. He's throwing those heavy uppercuts, hooks, and mixing combinations very well on the feet, especially when he gets his opponents hurt. I feel like Diego's game plan going into fights is like, the second I can clip him with something, it's like his shark in the water mentality. There's a little bit of blood that draws out, and he goes for the motherfucking finish. And that is what I love about Diego Lopes' style. So in this fight, it's hard to say just looking at this matchup who I think will win, because I don't think that Jean Silva's ever been finished. He has 2 losses on his record, and those were, one was a split decision. I believe one was a unanimous, and that was a long time ago. Jean Silva's never been finished. And I don't think Diego Lopes, he probably has been finished. I have to look back at his record. But Diego Lopes and Jean Silva are both on a crash course for who's going to be the most durable guy here. Because honestly, the pair of them are just extremely durable. What I worry about in this fight is Jean Silva he's just a great energy, okay? Jean Silva has a contagious energy that I believe people cling to. And I think we've all met people like this in life, right? There's always that a person that you might meet who just can kind of walk into a room and garner attention and garner energy, okay? And what I mean by that is Jean Silva is that type of dude. He walks into a room and I think he just has a positive energy to him. I know he's choked out a couple fans and things, but he seems like the guy that just exudes that energy and is able to, get people to buy in a way. And it's not to say that it's he's trying to he's selling wolf tickets or anything. I'm saying it's he walks into a room and people kind of gravitate to him. And so what I worry about with that is I think that same stuff applies to his in-cage presence. He does play this game with his opponents all the time where he's like, oh yeah, great shot. Oh, you almost got me. You throw the spinning back kick. Oh, you almost got me. Nice. And he high fives him. But then he fucking throws a straight behind it and he like fucking hurts him like Melsik Bagdasarian. So what I worry about is if Diego goes into that cage, and this is not Diego's type of game, okay? Diego's not that kind of guy. He's a fucking straight to the business type of dude, as we've seen. So what I worry about is if Diego allows Jean Silva to control the space in that regard, like if Jean Silva throws up the high five or gives him a fist bump because he lands something good, what I worry about with that is I feel that is a way that Jean Silva's kind of able to draw opponents into his game and ultimately capitalize on that. He's done it multiple times. He did it against Drew Dober. He did it against Melsik Bagdasarian. And it's not like a negative thing either. I think it's just that's who Jean Silva is. I think he has this ability to exude that energy that people gravitate to. And I think ultimately he's just using that as a tool so that when he's ready to land that kill shot, he goes for it. And the opponent, I think sometimes they're not prepared for it because this guy's giving me a high five, telling me I'm doing good. And then he fucking knocks me out. So they're not ready for it. And so I think if Diego can stay away from that, and I think if Diego can stay away from needing to get the finish, okay? And I know that is going to be very hard because that is his style. That's what we love Diego Lopes for. But I feel like in the Volk fight, if we go and look back at that, and I am going to do a full-size breakdown on this, guys. I'm going to kind of review the style of Diego, review the style of Jean Silva, and do like an in-depth breakdown similar to the ones I've done previously, on Ilya Taporia, so on and so forth. Anyways, I think that the problem I had with Diego in the Volk fight, I feel like he was so hell-bent on, obviously landing big shots on the feet and getting a finish on the feet, to the point where he almost kind of lost those other elements of his game. I mean, I don't think that Diego Lopes had confidence in like taking Volk into a ground situation, which I don't blame him because Volk is extremely good on the ground, extremely hard to submit, as we've seen. Like Brian Ortega couldn't even submit him with, a fully mounted guillotine. But I think Diego, he was so set on finishing Volk on the feet that it's like there was no other option for him. And so what I would like to see from Diego in this fight, because I do believe Diego can win this fight, is staying patient on the feet and trying to land his shots at the best time, right? Versus just kind of swinging and banging. And I think that Diego does that. That's the type of fighting he does. Now, Jean Silva, on the other hand, I actually also kind of lean towards him potentially being able to get a win here, solely off the fact that his stature and size is so similar to that of Volkanovski that Diego Lopes, if we go back and watch Volk as a case study, he had a lot of trouble with Volk's size, and Volk landed shots on him that hurt him. It didn't knock him down, but he got sent backwards a couple times by Volk's overhands. And so what I worry about for this with Diego and Jean Silva is that in a pocket exchange type situation, Jean Silva might actually have a bit of an advantage against Diego Lopes solely off the fact that he is a similar build and stature to that of Volkanovski. And we saw Diego have some issues there just in some of those exchanges. Now, Diego still had success against Volk. He did get a few knockdowns, but what I worry about is just how much is Diego training those pocket exchange situations, and how does he combat a similar build to Volk who's also going to have a lot of heat and fire in the hands? He's going to have to just be very crispy on the feet and probably be a bit more tentative on those pocket exchanges, choosing the right time to go into those exchanges and then pulling himself away. I think if Diego can have a game that's like similar to that, he could potentially get the win, especially even by decision. But I don't want to see that. I want them to go out and do what they do. I just think for Diego to win, he needs to be a bit more choosy on how he goes into those pocket exchanges, because I do think that he was locked in the pocket against Volk for a long period of time in their fight, and Volk was just simply beating him in those pocket exchanges. So it'll be very interesting to see how this fight goes. I do think that it is a fantastic fight. Thank you guys for watching this video. I went off on a bit of a tangent, but I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to give this a like if you enjoyed. And also please subscribe to Fight Feed so you can stay on top of all of the new MMA takes that I may have, but also my prediction videos, my pick tracker videos, so on and so forth. I truly appreciate each and every one of you that watches. And thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.